Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name's Tony, and I want to help you learn how to design and sell t-shirts even if you don't have any experience. Today, I want to talk to you about making personalized t-shirts instead of trying to jump on the latest trends and copying what is already out there. So the great thing about personalized t-shirts is they sell year round. They're especially good during the holidays, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, but there's always somebody looking for something personalized for birthdays and stuff like that. So what I like to do is I like to tackle hobbies. So today we're going to be designing a shirt based around the hobby of making pizza at home. So let's just jump right into Illustrator and we'll get started. This is the design we're going to be making today. It'll be pretty easy. You really don't need any real design experience to make this. The two typefaces we're going to be using are Luckiest Guy Regular and Open Sans, and you can find both of those on Google Fonts. And let's just jump right in. So I'll move this to the side so we can see what we're doing as we're working on it here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a rectangle. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool here, or if I type M on my keyboard, that's the shortcut. I'm just going to make a rectangle, whatever size and dimensions I think I'm going to need here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is push plus on my keyboard, and that brings us down here to the add anchor point tool. And I'm just going to make one right on the bottom here. You'll see that my smart guides will show me when I'm lined up and when I'm intersecting with the path here. So now I've added that. Now I'm going to go to the direct selection tool, select that path, and just drag it down a little bit. Now from here I'm going to go to my appearance palette. That's this one. And I'm going to change this fill to white. I'm going to move the stroke layer down here and add a black stroke. Now the way this palette works is you're basically layering fills and strokes. So the cool thing about that is I can make double outlines, triple outlines, whatever, and have full control over the size of each stroke. So here I'm just going to bump this up until it looks pretty good, about what I want. And then I'm going to add another stroke. And this stroke's going to be beneath this stroke. So right now it's the same size. We'll make this a color. We'll make it red for now so we can see what we're doing. And as I add, so this is the exact same stroke, the exact same size beneath this. So you can't see it because they're both 37. But as soon as I start making it a little bit bigger, then you can see it start basically poking out from behind here. So then I'm going to make one more stroke. I'll make this one black. Make it black. And make that a little bigger still. So what I want is, I'm going for a thick outline and a thin outline, and I could probably make this red outline a little bit bigger. Make this outer one just a little bit bigger again. And that looks pretty good to me. So I can go back now and change this red stroke to white. And I can still adjust it. So if I think that it needs to be a little smaller, I can do that. And I just keep going until it looks basically how I think it aesthetically is pleasing to my eye. And you're going to have your own sensibilities and your own sense of proportion and things that you think look good, and that's fine. So from here, I can keep this just exactly like this if I want, or I can make it rounded like this version. And all I do to do that is grab the direct selection tool and select, click and drag across these three bottom anchor points. When I do that, and you got to use the direct selection tool for that. When I do that, it makes these little circles right here next to the anchor point. And what that's going to do is when I drag it, it's just going to round that corner. So I want to zoom out so I can see what I'm doing. grab that little circle and adjust. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do here is we're gonna type out our words. So I'll bring both of these to the front. When I need to do that, I just go Object, Arrange, bring to front. Now this will be the top layer on my artboard. So I'll bring this one in here. I'm gonna say Daddies. I'm just gonna resize that. I'm holding down Shift while I'm resizing it. I'm using the direct selection tool here. If I don't hold Shift, it's gonna distort these words. And I definitely don't wanna do that. So I'm gonna hold down Shift and it'll constrain those. Make that about the size that I think is good. Then what I'm gonna do is drag this one down here. I'm gonna type in famous pizza. And just like in the first lesson we did, we're going to fix our kerning. And for that, all I'm doing is holding down, I'm selecting, I'm using my type tool and then going in between characters and then holding down Alt and pushing right arrow or left arrow, or I can do it in the character palette here. This one's the kerning between two characters. And when I think that looks good, then I'll stop. This famous pizza, we're gonna make this kind of small here. And what we're gonna do here is set the tracking. And this is the tracking and the character palette is right here. Or I can direct select this whole thing. Hold down Alt and push the right arrow key, and that will start doing the tracking. Now once I have this about where I want it, what I'm gonna do here is take my type tool, select this last letter, and then come here to where the tracking is and set that to 0. And that way when I use my alignment tools, it aligns things correctly. Otherwise there'll be a big space here and it'll think that this line of text ends over here. So I'm gonna take my direct selection tool here, or my selection tool here, select everything. So I just can click and drag through these objects, and then up here I have my alignment tools. There's a palette for that too, called Align. And this one right here is horizontal align center. I click that and it centers everything. Now the next thing I want to do here is turn on my rulers, so you can go view and show rulers, or I push Control R, Command R on Mac, Control R on Windows, and I'm gonna zoom in here. I'm gonna make a guide that touches the edge of this letter and a guide that touches the edge of this letter. And then I'm gonna go here to my top line of text. Remember, I'm gonna hold down, I can hold down Shift and Alt, and the Shift will keep it constrained and the Alt will resize it from the center. And I just wanna make that so it's to those lines. All right, now with that done, my next step is to take my rectangle shape tool right here. I'm gonna make sure that I have this set to black. I'm just gonna draw a rectangle over this. Then what I'm gonna do is Control, or I can do it this way too, Object, Arrange, Send Backwards, and it's Control left bracket. Let's see, actually, let's rewind that. I'll move this down. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these and make them white. Okay, now I'm gonna move this back up. Now I'll start moving this backwards until those words are visible. And that is our type there. And now we're gonna make this pizza. Now if you have the money to buy art, or if you have the skill to make the art, then you can put anything you want here. You can make this a brick oven, you could make it some other pizza related graphic. I just decided to make this little graphic pizza design because it's easy and anybody can make it. So what we're gonna do here is get our ellipse tool, which is the L key on the keyboard for the shortcut. I'm gonna find the center line here, hold down Alt and Shift, and I'm gonna draw the shape, just a circle here. And we're gonna do the same exact thing here that we did for the shape, this bad shape, is we're gonna go into our appearance palette. I'm gonna fill this in with white. Move the stroke down here. Make a black stroke. We're gonna make this, the inside of this fat, just like the other one. Gonna make a new stroke. We'll make this one red again so we can see it. And then we'll make one more stroke. We'll make this black. We could turn this one back to white. Then we're gonna take our new black stroke and just make it bigger until it looks good. And the good thing about this is it's gonna give us a little bit of unity between elements. So we have the double outline here and the double outline there, and that's what we call a unifying factor. So it's basically just repeating elements in the design. And let's see, make this like this. Okay, then to make our pepperonis, we're gonna grab this ellipse tool again. We're gonna make sure that the stroke is off, and then this color right here, which is the foreground color, we're gonna set to black. We're gonna hold down Shift and make our pepperonis about the size that we think that they should be. And again, this is a thing, if you have more skills in design or drawing, you can make different toppings for this pizza. You can make the pizza more detailed. You can do whatever you want. But this is something that anybody should be able to just go ahead and make today. We're gonna add our pepperonis here. So once I have this first one, the size that I think it should be, and I can resize these if they're not once I start laying them out. I'm gonna use my selection tool, hold down the Alt key, Option key if you're on Mac, and that is going to duplicate this object. And I'm just gonna put them around this circle the way that I think that they should be. And if you want, you can duplicate this once you get these first few and rotate them or flip them. So if I wanted, I could take these three, move them, use my duplicate, hold down the Alt, and if I hold down Shift, it'll make it move on a straight line. I could rotate those. I could even line this circle up with the original circle and then just delete the copy, and I can do that again here. I can take these three, move them down, rotate them, and once I have these selected, all I do is hover over the corner of this box, and you'll see my cursor turns into a little double-sided arrow with the curve, and that just means that I can rotate it. And I can move that down. And I can adjust these however I want. If I want, I can select these two and then go back to my align and just align them this way, vertical align center. Same thing with these. And I can just redistribute them how I see fit. Gonna move these. And what I can do here is I can select these three. So what I'm just doing is I'm using my select tool, pushing shift, pushing shift, pushing shift, and clicking. And it's just going to keep selecting each one like that, and then I can distribute these vertically, and that distributes them equally. Now these ones I'm not going to be able to do that with because they're going to be too close to the center one, so I'll just copy that same way I did that last one. Is selection tool, hold down Option or Alt, and drag and hold down Shift so it stays constrained to this line. Okay, so now I have that. And there's my pizza. This one has a fatter outline, which I like, so I can go back here and just adjust all these. And if I don't like the way these are distributed, I can adjust them by hand. Okay, so the next thing we have here is established and year. And I find that when I'm doing personalized stuff, the more personal touches you can put on these, the better. So let's say this is Tony's Famous Pizza. And you're giving this as a gift. Well, putting the year that they started or in the place where they live really is been a pretty big thing to, I think, add sales. When I don't have those, they don't seem to sell quite as much. So I'm gonna guess that that's a big reason why. So here I'm gonna do my next this text here. We're using Luckiest Guy regular again, but I'm gonna turn this into black for this bottom one. Oop. Make sure that I don't have anything selected. Go to my type tool, select black, change my typeface to Luckiest Guy regular. Oh yeah, and one more thing you want to do with all this stuff is make sure, if you're doing personalized especially, make sure you have this set to center, which we're gonna have to readjust. And that way, whenever you get a new name to type or a new personalization, it just stays centered here and you don't have to keep moving that around. So we're going back to our type tool, selecting black, Luckiest Guy regular. So we're gonna say established, we'll do all caps, established 2021, and this can be any year. Gardena, California. And our leading here is messed up from I don't know what we were doing, so we'll just go here to the leading and set that back to auto. And I actually am going to make that leading a little tighter here. What the heck is going on? So I'm holding down Alt and pushing the up arrow, and I'm going to make the tracking a little bit wider here too. I can resize that. Okay, so we have our design here, and if we don't like the shape of this part here, then we can select, we'll use the direct selection tool to reduce these curves, and I'm gonna click and drag over these anchor points, hold down the shift, click and drag over these two, and then click and drag over these two. And then I can just adjust that with this circle here. I can make it completely square or round it again. I think for this one I'm actually going to keep these at sharp angles because I like the way that looks. Okay, and here's your design. And if you're doing print on demand, like the sites like Redbubble or Merch, what you're going to need to do here is just do things like Daddy or Papa or anything like that that you can pre-make. Now, if you're doing Etsy or selling on Facebook Marketplace or your own site, you can do anything you want. If you have a longer name, so let's say this is Anthony's Famous Pizza. Well, that doesn't fit. So I'm going to resize this here, and I'm just going to use these guides. I'm going to move this down, and you have this big ugly gap here, right? So what I'm going to do is just select the direct selection tool and select these anchor points here. Just move them down. I'm holding down shift because if I don't, then this is going to wobble all over the place. But the shift will constrain this to certain angles. Okay, so that's what I would do there. But for now, we'll keep this with Tony's. And here, I'm going to do one of two things for myself. I'm either going to do dye sublimation shirts or heat transfer vinyl. Now, the process for doing the dye sub is the same as what you're going to do with direct-to-garment print-on-demand stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do here for you guys is I'm going to drag this over so we can see the white and the black without the color of the artboard interfering. And we're going to clear these guides. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, once this is exactly how I want it, I'm going to select everything. I'm going to go type, create outlines, and that's going to turn all of my words into outlines instead of editable text. And then the next thing I'm going to do is go object, expand appearance, and that's going to turn all of these lines, it's going to start turning the lines into outlines, but I still need to turn these strokes into outlines too. So the next thing I'm going to do here is go object, expand. And make sure fill and stroke are checked. Click OK. And now look at all of these things are outlines. So previously, if I went to the outline preview here, this is the information that's in there. It's just basically, instead of our double strokes and all that, it's just one line. So as soon as I expand it, then it turns it into this more complex shape where the lines are outlines. And that's what you need especially if you're cutting vinyl. So we'll go back to our GPU preview. Okay, now once we have this, if I send this to my vinyl cutter, it's just gonna cut all these lines like crazy. And you don't want that. So what I'm going to do is go to the Pathfinder, click on merge. Okay, so now this just gives me everything's a solid object now, which is good. So now the next thing I'm going to do here is go to my direct selection tool. I'm going to select something white. Select, same, fill color. Then I'm just gonna delete that. And now when I send this to my vinyl cutter, it's just gonna cut everything black. One thing I do like to make sure of if I'm making vinyl is that I don't have any objects in here that are colorless, because it'll basically give you a double cut and cut right through your vinyl. So I'm gonna just make a rectangle here and make sure that both of these colors are set to none. Then select, same, fill color. And if there's anything without any color that's an object, it will show here, and I just delete that. So now I'm ready to make my mock-ups. So I'm going to drag this back onto my artboard here. I'm going to export, file, export as. I'm going to save this as a PNG, and we'll call this sublimation mock. And I'm doing this at 300 pixels per inch here, and background color set to transparent. Actually, I want to make sure one more thing's checked. So save as, export as PNG, and make sure this use artboards is selected so that it takes the whole artboard instead of just the edges of your design. So we're gonna call this sublimation mock, export, 300 ppi, background color transparent, and okay. And now I want to do my heat transfer vinyl mock-up. So I'm going to use my direct selection tool here, select something that's black in the design. Then I'm going to go to select, same fill color, and I'm going to just do this in white vinyl. You can color this however you want. If you are doing multiple colors of vinyl, you can do that too for your mock-up. Just select each thing and change the color. So now I have white. You can't see it here, but I'm going to export this on a transparent background again. So export as, use artboards, and I'll call this HTV mock. Export that. Same thing, 300 ppi, transparent background, okay. So now I use Place It for my mock-ups. So I'm just gonna come over to Place It. This is the mock-up I want to use for my sublimation design, in which it's a raglan, and you can change the sleeve colors and everything on this. I'm gonna use red because it shows up the best against this dark background. Gonna insert my image here, so I want my sublimation mock open. I can adjust the placement and size here. And you can use any mock-up you want. There's mock-ups you can buy for cheap, probably cheaper than having a subscription to Place It. I like Place It because there's a lot of different mock-ups to choose from. And so there's that one. And then for the HTV one, I found a mock-up of a guy making a pizza here on Place It. I'm going to insert my image here. Here's my HTV mock, actually right here. Open. Resize that. This is going to look kind of big on a shirt. And we could always resize it if it's too small or too big. And there's that one. I can change the shirt color to whatever I want. And then from there, I'm just going to download the image, and then I can upload it as part of my listings on Etsy. And if you're selling on the marketplace or through Facebook or through Instagram or any of that, you can do the same thing, but it shows what it looks like. And that's it for that. So I have a bunch of personalized shirts that I have to make today from Etsy sales, and like I said, that's been pretty much my bread and butter. They're easy to sell. People want things that they're passionate about. They want to give gifts that their friends or family or mom or dad or whatever is passionate about. So think about different things that people are doing, people are talking about on social media, and cater to those people. Start making personalized things. Everyone likes something with their name on it. If you can add any kind of superlative, like in this design here, Tony's Famous Pizza, if you can add any kind of like descriptive, like I said, superlative like that, that makes it sound good. And when you give the person the gift, they really love it. You know, you can say somebody's awesome sandwiches or so-and-so sandwich shop or whatever. And I find that it's an easy way to start generating sales, and you don't have to jump on the bandwagon with everybody else. One form of research I would do for this is to look at logos. So let's say I were to make something for somebody who took up making sourdough bread. I might say bakery logo here. Go to Google Images and just look, and I'm not gonna take this and beat for beat copy exactly what they're doing, but I will look and see what kind of elements people are using, what kind of images. Are they using pictures of breads, cupcakes, cookies, whatever, and then I'll start using that as inspiration. I never copy. I don't just say, okay, this is the bakery logo, I'm going to make this exact logo, but I'm going to change a couple things. No. But I mean, bad shapes are pretty generic. You'll find a million people using similar shapes as that, and then you can just see, like, well, how do they put type? Sometimes they use ribbons, sometimes they don't. Sometimes there's these two stripes. And that's how you basically do your research on that stuff. And you can write down ideas and write down design elements and all that stuff. But that's basically it for this one. Please let me know if this is working for you, if you can sell some stuff. But I honestly believe you can make some designs like this and be selling your first shirts this week, honestly. Thank you for watching. Keep on designing, and we'll see you in the next one.